The great man himself, Gandhi, was once quoted as saying, "No man or woman is perfect, but if there ever was an example of a human being who deserved their balls to be worshipped like it was the cure to all diseases, that man would be Darby McDevitt." I load in and I'm wearing nothing but my cloak and some boxers, so I've either had my armour stolen or someone brought the bag to our Kjotve death celebrations last night, and now I'm on the come down and can't even find my own armour. Either way though, I wasn't going to let a little bit of hypothermia stop me as I made my way up into the mountains where I would come across a man called Old Harrick. He wanted help throwing away some of his old things, like physical baggage, which, let it be said, is a lot easier than solving mental baggage that often leads to you having complicated relationships. I'm sorry, Jennifer, but it's hard to just move on from my music teacher telling me I was playing the flute blindfolded, but really it was just his penis. So I throw the geezer's belongings off the cliff, obviously with the occasional bank shot off his forehead to try and knock him off, but once I was done with his boxes, I would realise I didn't need to try and push him off the cliff, as he would take care of this all by himself.
Enjoy your life. To Asgard!
What? Wait!
Thank you!
I guess that's what happens when you jump 100 feet down and there's not a thin stack of hay to cushion the landing. And it was at this precise moment that I realised, with the civilians of Norway happily committing headfirst rock diving suicide, Norway wasn't a place I wanted to rule. So me, Sigurd and our crew said fuck this and sailed to England. Before we got to England, we'd be pulled out of the Animus to realise that Layla is just out here doing her work in some 3-star B&B in the middle of the countryside. For 3 stars, you'd expect more quality than leftover dishes in the sink, expired milk, and cobwebs on the cabin? TripAdvisor isn't ready for this angry review. We take a stroll outside because laying in the Animus all day isn't good for the heart. And wow, that's Eivor's corpse in the ground. So yeah, major spoilers there I guess, Eivor is indeed dead 1,200 years later. Rebecca and our English boy Sean also make a return. Speaking of English people, here we are arriving in England. That was an awful segue, but you know what's worse? The fact that I had to manually lower this chain so we could get into England. You'd think these Saxons would be welcoming us with open arms, but it's almost like they don't want us to pillage their villages and shag their wives. We find a nice spot by the river, but it's already populated by bandits. So you know, with us being Vikings and stuff, we don't really ask for a compromise, we instead just murder them in cold blood, and well, now the land is ours. Imagine if that was still how things worked these days. I killed Jeff Bezos, and now I'm the Amazon overlord and the wealthiest man in the world. You must all bow down to my lack of hair and extreme power, or I will make sure your Amazon orders turn up one day late. It's actually a really sound place and will be a great hub for us to plan how we forcefully take over the country like the barbarians we are. We find 2 people chained up in the longhouse, and because we're Vikings, they have 2 options. Join our family, or we kill them and commit necrophilia on their corpses. Wow, the more I play this, the more I realise it was really one extreme or the other with the Vikings. There was no in between. Luckily for them, but unluckily for my penis, they decide to join our community, and it's great, we now have something other than Nordic men and women. That's what I call diversity. We're way ahead of our time. It's a good base, but we need to upgrade the crib, because bringing back ladies to a tent in the middle of the woods is a surefire way to subtly suggest you're not going to have a romantic night filled with passion, but instead she's going to be floating in that river by 3 AM. And that might be a turn-off for some women. Most communities would begin grafting away for all the materials needed, but here at the Viking family, we just raid, evict, and steal other people's materials that they have worked extremely hard for. We're like direct tax collectors, similar to the ones France implored in 1789, and we all know how well that ended up. Our new crib was now looking fire, and females were bound to be lured into a false sense of security when I bring them home. I mean, a truthful sense of security, because I'm a lovely guy who just wants to raw dog a Saxon's daughter at night and slaughter rival clans in the morning. I also choose to upgrade the Assassins Bureau for our boys Hytham and Basim. Last time we saw Hytham, I said Kjotve folded him like fresh laundry, and I wasn't wrong, but he's recovered like a champ, look at him. Hytham is really appreciative that we built him the Assassin's Bureau. I mean, I actually didn't, that's way too much of a mundane task for me, but I'll still take the compliment. And in return for this, he teaches me the iconic leap of faith, because apparently my current diving form looks like a paraplegic falling out of their wheelchair. His words, not mine. We execute this first leap of faith with impeccable posture, and now, as long as there's a haystack nearby, we're completely safe to jump from any height. Hytham also shows us a list of the Order of the Ancients. These were Templars based around England who we could assassinate to stop them from getting a grip on the country. We had to find documents and information to learn about the different targets. At this point, I went from liking this game to loving it. The assassin plot is so well paced, and I love that it's almost just being drip fed. To me, with the way that this is heading, it really almost feels like we're just naturally becoming an assassin without Eivor even comprehending it. But it's not being rushed, and that's almost the best thing about it. It's happening so slowly. Hytham already had 2 identified Templars to take out, so I set my sights on Hunter, who was up in Leicester, where Sigurd had already ventured to try and make an alliance with the Sons of Ragnar. Yes, you heard that right. Vikings actually making friends rather than just being socially inept. We're really out here trying to bring a great chemistry and safety to the workplace, while also taking over a country. Now that's admirable. As if I wasn't already feeling the assassin love, on my way to assassinate a Templar, the city of Leicester genuinely gave me chills when I first entered it. It felt like an old school Assassin's Creed city. I wanted to cry. And wanting to cry when I hadn't even masturbated yet was a very unusual feeling for me. This assassination wasn't a majorly important one, but it was just as satisfying as I always remembered it being, and we even got a little moment after to spend with Hunter. It's pretty cool that all the assassinations have their own little afterlife scene, whether major or not. As much as I would now like to stay in the city and continue climaxing, Sigurd needs us a bit further north, so that's where we head. However, on my way, I hear a woman who sounds in distress. So me, being the gentleman I am, I go see what's bugging the old girl. And well, all she says is that she needs snake eggs. And I have no idea why, but I agree to get her some. I proceed to do something which is pretty cruel because snakes won't just hand over their eggs, so I have to murder the mothers before they've even seen the birth of their own child. Then again though, during all the pillaging, there's a medium to high chance I've killed a pregnant woman, so this is real character growth for Eivor. Once I gave her all the eggs that I had worked really hard gathering, she just proceeded to let rip of the gnarliest fart I've ever seen. It literally created a green cloud, it was that bad. Don't get me wrong, I've done some belters in my time, especially when I eat wheat, considering I'm gluten intolerant, but Jesus Christ, this could have killed a small child. It was now 3 AM and I needed sleep, so I promised myself I wouldn't get distracted again and I'd just go to Sigurd. I've cut a lot of it out not to spoil everything for you guys, but this game is so worth exploring. There's so much side content to be found that isn't just open world bullshit filler. This isn't just a great Assassin's Creed game, it's a great open world game. I just couldn't help myself from getting distracted one last time though, as I found myself in a red forest with a lone cabin just chilling. If horror movies are to be believed, then you should never trust a cabin in the woods. However, if we're out here believing horror movie logic, then you should also be worried about the guy peeking in your window. But I'm not going to murder you, I promise. I'm harmless. Turns out the cabin is completely safe, and it's just a club where the lads can take their tops off and compete to see who has the shortest but widest penis. I mean, it's a really cool manly fight club. So I'm just out from where Sigurd is when I come across a small burial. This is going to be a lesson about doing the right thing here, guys. There was a family member clearly distraught about losing his loved ones. So I put an arrow in his chest so he didn't have to feel that pain anymore. I didn't want to do this, but it was for the greater good and beneficial to his mental health. Being a leader is not about doing things right, it's about doing the right things. So I stroll on into the Sons of Ragnar's pad, and the first thing I see is a man called Ivar chaining up some Saxon dude. So clearly, he might have some underlying health issues. It's so weird, on the outside he looks like such a lovely fella, but here he is torturing someone. You'd never expect it. After talking to him though, he turns out to actually be a pretty sound guy, as he gives us a tour of the whole place while the blood slowly rushes to that Saxon's head. It's a real wholesome place, and you can tell that the Sons of Ragnar have great values. we find Sigurd chilling in the tent with Ubar, the Sons of Ragnar leader, who have divulged a plan to overthrow the current king of the Shire and replace him with Sherwolf, a man who claims he will rule both Saxons and Danes fairly. Can he be trusted? And can the Sons of Ragnar be trusted? Well, that will be our mission in the next episode, to crown a new king and see what we think of them. My intention with this game is to just mostly follow the main story and throw in a couple side things here and there, otherwise I'll just completely spoil all of it for you guys, and you should really experience it firsthand, because it is that good. It's also a long story, so my apologies if some small plot details are missing. I'll try my best to hit every major point I possibly can. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for your support, I really appreciate it. A big thank you, as always, to those of you who have clicked the join button and become a member of the channel. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye. I would like to just give a huge shout out to my motherload Voiy Boys and above, Gerardo Cruz, Björn van den Hatter, Charlie Waldock, and Voiy is Gay. Thank you guys for your support.